So Devstream 192 has just ended, which means we've got a lot to talk about. First Devstream of the year, no messing about, straight into it. First up, this is our next new Warframe, Foley. The Painter Warframe or Inkblot Warframe. She's being introduced with the next major update called the Shadowgrapher, and they're keeping a lot of her specifics under wraps for now. Now the vibe that they're leaning into is a more kind of painter, inkblot, distorted imagery type of Warframe, and she's going to have her own domain that you can literally enter. A domain that is apparently very unsettling. Now Vesper Relay is returning for the Shadowgrapher update, but it's not just, I guess, the relay is back. It's when you go to Vesper Relay, you can apparently walk through a painting and enter an alternate version of that relay, which is basically Foley's domain, which is going to bring, I think, a new game mode with it as well. Now, we don't know anything really about the game mode except what's on the website, where it says you're going to be tracked and pursued by an overpowering enemy while you squad up with other players to complete objectives. So they've said this update is going to drop in March of this year, and it's going to touch on the Perita Rebellion a little bit and the old piece, but they mentioned the tone of this update is going to shift a little into the more of the, I guess, horror leaning or creepy vibes with the update. And it's not really an Echoes update, but it's still kind of an Echoes update, if you know what I mean. It's not being titled as an Echoes update, but it's the same kind of structure. Now, when they showed Foley off and Dante was in Vesper Relay, we did hear very creepy music, and we heard what sounded like a music box as well, playing some creepy audio.
Very much my flavor profile. I love this.
You will be able to go through this portrait, this inkish painter-themed Warframe awaits. Her name is Foley, and she has much to offer with lore and story. And her kit. We're going to give you a visual of her today only.
And I'm not saying it's giving kind of Welcome to Derry vibes, but it was giving kind of Welcome to Derry vibes and Pennywise, while also weirdly being very Expedition 33 influenced as well, with the idea of walking through that painting. So I'm genuinely really looking forward to jumping into it and seeing just exactly what kind of abilities Foley is going to give us. But we're not going to know about that until February in the next Devstream. Now, also coming with the Shadowgrapher update is the Grendel and the Gauss Deluxe skins. And oh my god, Grendel looks feckin' amazing. A full-on mecha Grendel, and a similar vibe for Gauss Deluxe as well. Now, they showed Gauss in-game. We didn't get to see Grendel's Deluxe rendered in-game, and of course the Deluxe looked amazing. The same goes, I think they're coming with the Exceltra Deluxe for Gauss, and Grendel is coming with his Masseter Deluxe, which is that two-handed weapon, which looks absolutely unhinged as well, like a giant chainsword, and it would be kind of cool if it came with some engine revving as well. Now, they are also getting their own duo emote, where Gauss is basically going to kick a rolled up Grendel into orbit, which I can't wait to do to one of my friends who is a very avid Grendel main. It's just going to be a bit of a shame when he actually gets back down and I have to listen to him. Now, also coming soon, you can expect some new adversary weapons, including the Coda Bubonico, which they showed on stream. Also, they showed the Kuva Ghoulsaw, which is an interesting choice of a melee weapon for a Kuva weapon. But they also mentioned that the Tennocon is another Tenet weapon that will be added into the game later in an update as well. Now, they are finally reworking Requiem relics. Basically, they're going to be replaced with new relics called the Requiem Eterna relics, and these are going to have all of the Requiem mods in one place, so that it's going to, I guess, speed up the farming of these mods. But you're also going to be able to buy the older Requiem relics if you want to off Paladino. That's entirely up to you. But overall, any kind of a speed up to the adversary system is always welcome. Now, Pablo also touched on the fact the elemental status rules for some of the adversary weapons are also going to be changed. They're shifting it to be completely random, whereas before, the status chance you would get on some of those Kuva, Tenet or Coda weapons would favour the lower side, so you'd be talking mid-20s on the percentage roll of status, whereas now you could get something that would have maybe 60% heat straight away on that roll, so it's going to be completely random. Now, they also briefly mentioned the current Tauron Strikes in game and how they're still looking at improving that system and the feedback they're getting from the player base. One of the main issues being that Enemies die before the animation cast actually ends, and are trying to find, I guess, a happy middle ground with that. However, they are still welcoming feedback and still working on it. Now, movement and wall running is something that I know a lot of people were really looking forward to. The old style of wall running making its way back into the game. However, it looks like bad news on that front by the sounds of it, from the way they were talking. Wall running returning has been scrapped because it had too many issues. Instead, what they are trying to do is work on other elements of movement within the game and streamline that instead. Things like mantling, which is a little bit janky in areas in game at the moment. They also mentioned other movement tech that they're currently working on, but the takeaway is pretty simple. If you have been holding out and waiting for that classic kind of wall running to come back, then it's not going to happen. Now, next up is the Awakening Quest remaster. They are also looking to remaster the visuals to better represent how Warframe looks right now compared to what it looked like when that quest was originally made. They showed a comparison of the current Awakening versus the reworked one, and of course the reworked one looks a million times better. It's a huge improvement. And for new players, first impressions matter, so this is honestly going to be a huge improvement for them once they jump into the game. Vauban, of course, is getting his heirloom on February the 11th, and Pablo accidentally seems to have turned what was originally supposed to be just a touch-up of Vauban into an almost full-on rework. So the old man train is getting a complete glow-up. He's going to have a jacket that he can take off. It's kind of got that steampunk Gyre Deluxe vibes going on with it. He can be fully jacketed up, or he can remove the sleeves, or he can take the jacket off altogether. The helmet is giving me mag-like kind of vibes, if I'm being honest. It looks like a little bit small compared to the rest of his body. It looks like one of those shrunken heads. Like his helmet has been scaled down by like 5%. But overall, the skin looks pretty sick, and he also has his own signet coming with it as well that you're going to be able to use on any other Warframe. Now, his actual changes and what he's getting. Vauban's passive is going to trigger when the target is being shocked by electric procs. The status chance of his Tesla Nervos will scale with power strength. Then it will now try to maximize their distance from one another so that they cover more ground. Ragdoll enemies can now be affected as well, and they've added a trail to keep track of them better so that you can see where they are as well. And the augment, they've added a marker to affect enemies to better see which enemies to prioritize. For his mine layer ability, they have merged his tether coil and flechette orb into one mine, and basically you can tether and flechette to the same thing. You can stick them to walls or ceilings and so on, and it will pull enemies in. And they have also merged his vector pad and his overdrive or buff mine at the same time. So the pad will provide a speed buff alongside a directional push, while also giving you overdriver's damage buff at the same time. So for his second ability, you're going to tap that ability to throw down your tether and flechette mine, and you're going to hold it in order to throw down the vector and overdriver mine as well. So it's basically going to be tap or hold depending on which mine you want to throw down, instead of rotating between all 4 different mines, which is a huge change. Now, his third ability, Photon Strike, is going to force blast procs onto enemies that are hit with the blast of it. It's going to double the damage to enemies with Overguard. It's going to reduce the ability cost of it, slightly increase its radius, and enemies trapped in Bastille will no longer get thrown around once you hit them with Photon Strike. The augment, if Photon Strike hits at least 5 enemies, the 2 next casts will cost no energy and fire 2 additional strikes. Now, the biggest change, and probably one of the most welcome, is the change to his Bastille. Bastille can now hold an infinite number of enemies. They've removed the enemy cap, but it has a limit on the amount of active Bastilles and vortexes you can throw down. I think Pablo said 3 at a time. It's going to have an increased armor bonus cap, and it's also going to increase the rate at which you and your squad mates gain armor while inside Bastille. Ragdolled enemies will also now be affected by Bastille's armor strip, and the augment now, when you kill enemies inside Bastille, will increase its duration by 2 seconds, and it will do the same for Vortex. So again, Bastille is sounding amazing right now. But if you're a Vauban main, let me know in the comment section below what you think of his rework or his changes, whether you liked them or not. Now, also coming on February the 11th, of course marking the year of the horse celebrations, is Dagath Deluxe. We've seen her before in art form and of course on Devstream, but this is what she looks like in game, and she is one of my favourite frames, so I'm a little bit biased. I genuinely think she looks amazing. She is also getting a deluxe Caith skin, of course her horse, which also looks amazing, and she's getting an ephemera, which is a small horse that runs around you and also runs beside you while you're sprinting around missions. Now, there is also Devil's Triad floofs coming. on February the 11th with that update as well, with the Vauban Rework update. There is the Tennocon 2026 dates are locked in for July the 10th and the 11th. Tickets go on sale February the 27th. The end of the year stats were shown on stream as well, which are a little bit wild but expected at the same time. They showed the fact that the most used gun for 2025 is the Tenet Envoy with 9 billion kills across the community. The most used Warframe, which came as no surprise to absolutely anyone, of course, is still Wukong, because obvious reasons. He gets everything done in game really easily. He's a comfy pick for anyone. Most used secondary weapon was the Ocu-Core with 5 billion kills. Again, incredibly powerful weapon, and this year I think its augment may have shown up more than once, or last year, sorry, the augment may have shown up more than once for grabs, which makes it even more powerful. And the most used melee weapon was the Zorus, which has 4 billion kills. Again, no real surprise because it's insanely powerful. I still personally prefer my Dual-Likers, but that's just a personal preference. The Zorus, of course, is an insanely powerful weapon. They also mentioned that there is new operator and drifter faces coming in a future update, which is nice for fashion frame reasons. They've also said that the old Peace quest will be replayable soon. They are still working on it. They have no date yet. They've also said there's a new challenge coming soon with the Parita Rebellion. Now, they didn't say much about this, but I'm thinking challenge glyph style, kind of like the Steel Path Vor or the 60 Eyes or the 99 Tank. You get the idea, basically. Something that's a little bit hard that you're going to get a challenge styled glyph from. Warframe on Android is rolling out on February the 11th for people in Canada, and then on February the 18th it is rolling out to the rest of the world, and that's coming with complete crossplay. They also said Warframe is launching on Switch 2, I think in February as well, with no extra dates beyond that point. But for the most part, that is the meat of Devstream 192. New Warframe Follie with her Shadowgrapher update, which is coming in March, and of course that Vesper Relay game mode along with her. The return of the old wall running has been cancelled. Vauban is getting a rework, which we're going to see on February the 11th. It goes live. February, of course, is packed with other content. Tennocon is locked in for July. There's a bunch of grind changes that'll hopefully make things a little bit easier for us. Awakening quest rework for new players. 3 new deluxe skins with Gauss, Grendel, and of course Dagath. End of year stats, which showed us which weapons and frames were used the most last year. New adversary weapons like the Coda Bubonico, the Kuva Gulsaw, the Tenet Quanta, and of course Requiem relic changes as well. The next Devstream, of course, is somewhere around the end of February, which we're going to get a look at Foley in action and her abilities. But let me know in the comment section below what you like the look of or what you don't like the look of. Have a great weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.